Grab a Coke Zero. Let's chat. Hi, so today I want to try something different. I'm going to be reading stories about medical school, stories related to medical school from Reddit. And if you don't know what Reddit is basically an app that is kind of like a message board. So people share their stories, their opinions, they ask for help on issues that they have. Reddit is a very fun place. So I'm going to be reading some stories that I got from Reddit and giving my opinions on them. Let's go. This first story is an Am I the Asshole story. People basically write their stories on the subreddit Am I the Asshole when they want to know if they're at fault in a particular situation. Basically, just giving you a rundown of how Reddit works. Am I the asshole for letting medical students observe when I'm at the gynecologist? My boyfriend was upset when he found out. Okay. My gyno's office is in a hospital that works really closely with a couple of local medical schools. Often, when I go, she's asked if it's okay if she has a medical student or a couple in to observe. She's always made it super clear I can say no. I've never felt any pressure, and she's only asked when I've been in for routine checkups, not when I've been there for anything potentially sensitive. But I've always said sure. I'm comfortable with my body. I'm not bothered by it at all. And they're med students. Like they're trying to learn. It's nothing inappropriate. My doctor has sometimes talked them through stuff too, which is cool to hear. I've learned stuff about my body that wouldn't have otherwise come up. None of them have ever been rude or inappropriate. Honestly, I'd say they've come off a little awkward and shyer than me. It's also not a sexy thing at all. Nobody looks good jammed up with a speculum, lol. I mentioned it offhand yesterday when I was in a group video call with three of my female friends and my boyfriend was sitting with me. My female friends were all like, "That's so weird. Mine has never asked that." And isn't it weird having a couple people standing around looking up there? I said no, it was chill. I wasn't really bothered by that. My boyfriend didn't say anything at the time and the conversation moved on. After the call, he had a bunch of questions. How many medical students? Men or women? Gynecology students or just any old medical student? How old? He was super uneasy with me exposing myself like that to anyone but my doctor, and I said that I didn't see why it was a big deal. They were med students, they were about to be doctors. He said that they were just college kids. Who knows if they were going to stick with it, and that he didn't like me inviting random college kids in to look at my genitals. I said I'd say no next time. It wasn't a big deal to me either way. But he still seems bothered by the fact that it wasn't a big deal to me and that it happened in the first place. Am I the asshole for letting medical students observe at my gyno appointment? Let me first take a sip of my coke. Your boyfriend is not okay. First of all, I get why it can be weird to people who don't know how medical school works. So they don't understand that in hospitals, especially in teaching hospitals, medical students are oftentimes asked to watch procedures be done. So you may be getting an examination done, either a general examination or a specific examination, and medical students will be there with your permission, of course, because they need to learn. Like they need to learn somehow to be doctors in the future. So it's very normal. I honestly don't understand why the boyfriend was so concerned. It's not his body, it's not his genitals. If he goes to the hospital and the doctor asks if medical students can watch him get a procedure done, he can refuse. That's his right. But like it's not his business. He has no reason to be angry with you allowing medical students to be in the room. As long as you're not creeped out, like that's your business, not his. Like is a weirdo. So the person who wrote the story, the original poster, the OP, is not the asshole. Obviously, it is the boyfriend that is the asshole in this case. Why is he trying to control what she does? I don't like the fact that she said, "Oh, I'll say no next time." If you're comfortable with it, keep saying yes. It has nothing to do with him. The next story is like the other side of the same coin. Am I the asshole for not wanting a medical student to watch my doctor perform a rectoscope on me? Long story short, my doctor told me 29 mil, that she will perform a rectoscope to see if I really have hemorrhoids or something else. It was already embarrassing to discuss my medical issues in front of a bunch of medical students and have them ask questions too. But I didn't mind it so much until the next part. She got me into the exam room, and with her, there was a student. My doctor told me to get into the position, as in get my pants off and literally show her my asshole to insert the thing. I was like, in front of her? She said yes. It threw me off because I never expected this to happen. I told her that I'm not going to do this until she gets out of the room, as in until the medical student leaves the room. The student told me that she's just here to observe and ask questions so that she learns. I told her that it's cute, but I'm not going to do that in front of her, so she needs to get out. I got into a small fight with the doctor and the okay, I got into a small fight with the doctor and the student both insisting that it's okay for her to be there and trying to convince me. But eventually the doctor gave up and agreed to what I said. After finishing my visit, that student confronted me and made me know that she didn't like the way I spoke to her and that there is no shame in medicine as she's only there for learning. I told her off and that I don't want her to see me naked, and she called me an asshole and left. First of all, it's crazy that she confronted a patient. It's first of all insane. Okay, so relevant information. I want to say that I went to a medical school hospital, not a normal hospital. This might be relevant. So, first of all, Reddit's judgment on this post was asshole, but I'm going to have to disagree. And some medical students will also not like what I have to say about this. But I feel like it's crazy to be arguing with a patient about whether you can be in the room or not. It's crazy. First of all, there are normal hospitals. Okay, let me use Nigeria as an example. In Nigeria, there are normal general hospitals and then there are teaching hospitals. A teaching hospital, like the name implies teaching, is going to be affiliated with a university, with a medical school. So students from that medical school go to that teaching hospital to learn. Normal. It has always been like that. Okay. And even apart from this story, I've heard medical students complain about not being able to witness certain procedures because the patients don't feel comfortable having them there. But I think it's crazy to complain. And I've also heard people say things like, oh, why did you come to a medical school if okay, sorry. Oh, why did you come to a teaching hospital if you knew you would not allow medical students to watch what you're doing? Don't get me wrong, oh, I'm a medical student and I understand that we need to learn, but still, it's the patient's right to refuse if they don't want you in the room. And I don't think you should take it personal or anything. Like if they don't want you there, they don't want you there. That's all. Because I've heard people say that about like my medical school and like the teaching hospital associated with our school last month. And I've heard people say things like, oh, if you don't want medical students to be there, why do you come to Lasut? You know that Lasut is a teaching hospital. To the general public, Lasut is a general hospital, whether we like it or not. Many people don't understand the nuances of teaching hospital, or just a normal general hospital, or many the ordinary average Nigerian, the average market seller, for instance, does not understand that a teaching hospital means that. In fact, they don't even know that it's a teaching hospital. Many people just know okay, Lasut. They don't know what Lasut means, or they just know or general hospital Ikeja. That's what they call it. They don't even know that it's a teaching hospital. So I find it crazy for you to be like, oh, like they're there because they know that they can't get the type of care that they'll get there in other places. That's why they're there. They're not like, oh, if you know you don't want this, like, guys, come on now. Come on. I feel like it's crazy, Sha. I understand that we need to learn, but at the end of the day, it is very understandable for a patient to not want it. Like, it's so intimate. In this case now, for instance, they're supposed to perform a rectoscope. So from the name rectoscope, they'll be inserting a camera into his rectum, like into his anus to view the rectum. I personally will not feel comfortable having like students, just random students. Like it's already very, very intimate to have that with your doctor alone. Let's talk of there being additional people in the room. Like personally, I also will not feel comfortable with that. I've also seen people complain about like women, maybe pregnant women, when they're doing like OBGYN rotations, complaining that some pregnant women don't want them in the room, especially like male students. I understand the frustration, but like they don't want you there. It's their prerogative, it's their privacy, it's their private part. Literally, like I don't think anybody should take it personally, and I don't think we should be complaining about it. Honestly, this story is crazy to me because first of all, he said he didn't want the medical students in the room. I don't think like, even in my school, for instance, I don't think the doctor is going to like keep arguing with you when you say you don't want students there. They would ask for your permission, explain to you why they want the students to be there to learn. But I don't think it would be like an issue. Like they ended up having almost a fight because this doctor was just insisting that the medical student had to be there. And the fact that the medical student afterwards went to confront him and told him, "Oh, you're an asshole. It's just medicine. There's no shame." Yes, there's no shame, but like you're confronting a patient because he didn't give his consent for you to be in the room while something was being inserted into his anus. It's crazy to me, honestly. So I'm going to have to disagree with Reddit on this one. You're not the asshole if you don't want somebody, if you don't want medical students in the room when you're getting an exam or anything done to you. Like, I don't think you're the asshole for that, honestly. It's your choice, your prerogative. If you want that, good. If you don't want that, good. Just like the first story, she was not the asshole because she allowed them to be in the room. Like, when you allowed medical students to be in the room, we're happy, yay, thank you. You're allowing us to learn with your experience. When you don't allow us in the room, too, I don't think anybody should take it personally first. Okay, there was an update to this story. Thank you so much for the kind words. I know that this post is tagged as asshole, but it seems that most comments are saying not the asshole, so don't worry. I now know that. Okay. I would also try to report the student, like many people you are telling me to. It would be a disaster if somebody like this becomes a doctor. Thanks again. Let's move on to the next story. Me and my friend Grace grew up together, and ever since we were little, we both wanted to be doctors. We went to the same college and both started off as pre-meds our freshman year. Our first year, Grace unfortunately ended up doing pretty poorly in her pre-med classes. Still determined to be a doctor, she started putting in more time and effort into her studies. Commendable. I, on the other hand, excelled in my pre-med classes. I offered to help her and we often studied together, but she really struggled to understand the material. She hired private tutors, studied day and night, but nothing seemed to help. Even though our grades did improve from freshman year, they still weren't high enough to be competitive for medical school. First of all, obviously, the person writing this post is in the US because in the US, before you go to medical school or law school, you have to have completed a 4 year degree. Yeah, so basically, even though our grades did improve from freshman year, they still weren't high enough to be competitive for medical school. During our sophomore year, she decided to switch to nursing. She was eventually accepted into our school's nursing program and has been doing great in the program. I'm really happy for her and I'm glad she has found the right profession for her. Recently, I was accepted into medical school. To say it was the best day of my life doesn't even come close to expressing how happy I was. This has been a dream of mine for as long as I can remember. Naturally, she was one of the first people I called when I found out. But her reaction really surprised me. She told me that going to medical school is a huge waste of time and that the future of medicine is nursing. That nurses are the real heroes of medicine and that doctors don't really care about patients and only care about the money. These comments made me really upset, and I just asked her why she couldn't be happy for me when she knows that this is what I wanted for a long time. She said she was just being honest. I left it at that and said I had to go. The next day, she called me again. The fact that she called you again, crazy. The next day, she called me again and said that she was sorry for hurting my feelings, but she wanted me to know the truth, which was that I'll be better off going to nursing school. She said nurse practitioners learn everything a doctor does in 2 years, and that medical school is a huge waste of time and money. I got really upset and told her that I don't appreciate her comments and that she doesn't know what she's talking about. That nurse practitioners do not learn everything that a doctor learns in 2 years, and to say that is an insult to doctors. I also told her that her earlier comments about doctors being in it for the money were extremely disrespectful, considering most doctors go into enormous debt and give up 11 to 15 years of their lives to train and undergo massive amounts of stress, all to help people. She called me a pretentious asshole and hung up. Am I the asshole? How can she be calling you a pretentious asshole? Who is acting like a pretentious asshole in this case? Even in Nigeria, there are always these like hierarchy wars of doctors better than nurses, nurses better than doctors. Like we're always fighting. I think we're not just all healthcare workers. We should work together. Like it's always a discourse on Twitter or on TikTok. Like even now, it's messy. But I think it's crazy for you to call your friend because you're excited that you finally got into medical school. And instead of your friend to be happy for you, she's like, oh, you're just going there to waste your time. Nurse practitioners learn everything that doctors learn in 2 years. Doctors don't really care about people, they only care about the money. Like after after giving up so much of your life for school, like doctors spend crazy amounts of time in school. Even in Nigeria where you don't have to do a pre-med degree first, you still spend 6 years in medical school. That is never actually 6 years. It's always 7 years plus. So let's say you spend 7 years. You spend 7 years. After that, you do your house job to NYSC. 2 years, you do your residency, which depending on your specialty, from like 5 years and above before you finally become a consultant. During that period, you are still writing exams, you are reading. It's crazy. Even after you become a consultant, you need to brush up on your certifications. So you still have to like keep going to school. You have to keep reading. Like it never stops. So I just don't understand how can be like, oh, nurse practitioners learn everything doctors learn in 2 years. If that was true, the medical school will not exist again. Like everybody would just gonna be a nurse practitioner. By the way, we don't have nurse practitioners in Nigeria, but nurse practitioners, at least in the US, they act kind of like doctors because they can be like they can provide like they can be the primary care provider basically. But I think usually under the supervision of a doctor. Yeah. So you're not the asshole. I honestly think you don't even need to be friends with this person again. Like, am I the asshole for not waking up my roommate on the day of his final med school exam? I 23M, sorry, that's 23 mil. I 23 mil and my roommate Justin 23 mil are med students. We've been living together as roommates for 2 years and we live in a hostel. Last week were our final year exams and it was absolute hell. We were surviving on 2 to 3 hours of sleep daily, followed by coffee and energy drinks. On the last day of exams, Justin was unusually exhausted. Around 1 a.m., he decided to sleep and told me to wake him up at 3 a.m. I agreed. However, by 2:30 a.m., I was dead. My brain was shutting down, my notes were getting blurry, and I knew if I stayed up any longer, I'd pass out. I decided to wake Justin up early. I woke Justin up at 2:30 a.m., told him the time, and suggested he set an alarm so he wouldn't oversleep. Justin sat upright, rubbed his eyes, and nodded and said, all right. I was like, don't forget to set the alarm, and then almost instantly fell asleep. We both woke up at 8 a.m. I had set my alarm for 6, but I kept hitting snooze. Justin freaked out, accusing me of not waking him up as promised. I reminded him that I did wake him up at 2:30 a.m. and suggested he set an alarm. Justin said that he was too sleepy to comprehend what was happening and insisted that I should have stayed awake to wake him up at 3 a.m. Is it mad? Or at least make sure he was really awake before sleeping. Justin's exam didn't go well and now he's blaming me. I understand his frustration, but I think it's being unfair. Am I the asshole? Come on now. You're not the asshole. So I recently wrote my first professional exams and this situation is so relatable. Like my roommates and I were barely sleeping. We're sleeping for like 2 hours a day, barely sleeping. And we're taking turns to sleep. So when this person is awake, let's say one of my roommates is awake and I'm about to sleep, I'll tell them, "Oh, can you wake me up at so time? Uh, can you wake me up at so time? I just want to rest for 30 minutes." If they're going to sleep before the time that I told them to wake me up, they're going to wake me up and tell me, "Oh, I'm waking you up now because I need to sleep too." Like I don't understand how Justin can blame you for anything in this situation. Like you're both going through a lot. You're both sleep deprived. Like why did he? Is it okay? He could not stay awake for later than 1 a.m. But he expected you to wait for 30 minutes for to wake him up. Like what's the logic? You're not to blame. Reddit deemed not the asshole, and I agree. Like anybody who has been in this situation knows that there's really nothing you could have done. Like you could have slept off, even if you had slept off without waking him up at 2:30 a.m. You would still not be the asshole because you're both still deprived. Like it's just a bad situation. It's just awful that as medical students you have to do crazy extreme things like that to pass exams. But like it's nobody's fault. It's just a sad situation. Hopefully, this post was 1 year ago, so yeah, hopefully you guys are very by now. Let's move on to the last story. Boyfriend, 24 male, doesn't want me, 22 female, to attend medical school right now. Nothing I say will make him change his mind. Why you even here asking us for advice? Sorry. Okay. Got my acceptance and I'm about to pay it. But ever since I got my acceptance a few weeks ago, my boyfriend of over 2 years has started fights over it. Keep in mind again, the reason why this person is 22 female, just starting medical school is because probably in the US, like I said, they have to do a degree before you go to medical school. I got my acceptance and I'm about to pay it. But ever since I got my acceptance a few weeks ago, my boyfriend of over 2 years has started fights over it. We just recently moved in together, and so I understand his frustration with this change of plans. I moved across states with him so we can be together. But now, all of a sudden, I got this letter and I'm leaving in half a year. We already got in a big, ugly fight over this. He wants me to not go this cycle and apply only in states for next year, which is only 4 schools in our state, so I don't have to be that far. But that will mean doing this whole process over again. A more competitive MCAT. MCAT is the entrance exam for medical school. New recommendation letters, more clinical hours, everything has to be redone. And I've heard stories with people in the same shoes as me. They didn't take their acceptance, so they tried again. But then it's 4 years later for them and they didn't get any acceptances. I'm heartbroken to not even be able to be happy about my acceptance because it keeps mentioning how we won't ever work out. Okay, no work out then. I'll be too busy and during my breaks I'll go see my family instead of him, he claims. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I dreamed of this since I was a kid and it's all I worked for. But now all of a sudden I'm sitting here about to pay my seat deposit and I just can't. What do I even do? 3 years ago, I would have taken this first thing, zero hesitation. But now because of him I hesitate. We are just on two different pages. He's known how bad I wanted this, how I've spent years getting the highest grades, following doctors, working clinical hours for free, all these dumb things, and somehow he's asking me to do it again. He said if I really want it that bad, I can do it again. First of all, sometimes I don't understand why people write into Reddit. Like there's a problem and there's a very obvious solution, and then you write into Reddit at us about what you should do. So you're telling me that you've been trying to get into medical school for years. And getting into medical school, especially in the US, is crazy competitive. You've been trying for years, like you've been working since your high school to get good grades, your pre-med course, and Now you finally have an acceptance, and you're here asking us what you should do because your boyfriend, not even your husband, or maybe I would have understood that your boyfriend said you should not accept your deceit. Are you okay? Why even break up? The reason why he doesn't want you to accept is because he thinks you guys won't work out. You won't be able to do long distance. Fine, don't work out. Break up now. Start medical school. If you meet later in the future, okay, oh well. If you don't, oh well. Like, break up immediately, fast, quickly. The fact that he told her, oh, start the process all over again, and if you really want it that bad, you do it again. Because of what? First of all, it's even crazy for you to be 22 years old and moving states, because she said she moved states, like she left the states where she applied to the schools, oh, and she moved states to be with her boyfriend, to move in with him. So you move states, and now you have an opportunity in your previous state. He doesn't want you to go back. First of all, why are you even moving states to leave your boyfriend at 22 years old? Like, come on now. Like, he really wants you to start the process over again, and you don't think that he hates your gut. He wants you to write the MCAT again. He wants you to start trying to get clinical hours. Clinical hours, like when you shadow doctors for free many times. He wants you to start getting clinical hours for free. He wants to start the whole application process all over again. Why? Like, to prove that you love him. Later break up. Okay, so we have an update to the story. Thank you so much for being so supportive in the comments. For all those worried, I paid my deposit 5 minutes after making this post. Thank God, though. Use your sense. Okay. It was never out of the picture that I would become a doctor. It was a matter of how to deal with my boyfriend. Personally, I say break up. Like, it won't work. Yeah, you guys are right. The relationship won't work. Break up. Yes. Break up. Move states. Go and start medical school. If you are soulmates, I don't. Maybe you think you're soulmates, and that's the reason why you're so scared of losing the relationship. If you're soulmates, you meet again in the future. If you're not, so be it. Like, it's really not even that serious. I just feel like it's crazy for somebody who claims to love you, who knows how hard you worked for something, to tell you to give it up because of them. Insane. That was the last story. Let me know what you guys think. Did you agree with my opinions on all the stories? Did you disagree? Let me know in the comment section. What do you think about the stories in general? Do you like this kind of video? Should we do more? There are more stories on Reddit. Yeah, and we can do more. It's also fun doing this, reading stories and getting to judge people. So if you'd like to see more content like this, let me know in the comment section. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Oh, before we go, let me do a shameless plug. I started a new podcast where I narrate stories, basically movies or books that I've watched. I try to narrate them with as much detail as possible. There's just one episode for now, but I'll leave the link to the podcast in my comment section or in the description of this video. And I'll also leave the link to my Instagram and TikTok pages. I post videos there too. And I also post updates on the podcast on Instagram. So please follow me on Instagram and TikTok. And please subscribe to the podcast. Listen to the first episode. The second episode is coming out very, very soon. Listen to them and leave me a review. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.